Recording in progress.
Oh yeah, we got him. Trey and Maestro styles, you know we got one. Right back like we left something. We don't duck smoke, we want all of it. So line them up, Trey sharp with the blade, you know we sizing it up. I'm quick to catch the fade, you know Styles making the cut. Cause we coming out clean every time that we showing up.
It's gonna be called The Barbershop.
What up, folks? What's good? Welcome to another episode of the Barbershop Sports Talk Podcast. You can watch us now live on our Twitter handle at Barbershop SPOR2. Also, you could watch us live on our YouTube channel and our Facebook page as well on Facebook Live. And you can follow us, not this video live, but you can follow us on our IG at Barbershop Sports Talk Podcast. I'm Trey Frazier, and I got my brother Maestro Styles here with me today.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What's good, man? How we living?
Coolin', man. Hey, tired as hell, but hey, consistency.
We here, man.
We here.
We here. Heck of a fight over the weekend.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. You ain't even had you just intro right into it because I was damn sure about to just go ahead and get that out the way real quick, man. Obviously, Bud Crawford beat the dog shit out of Earl Spence. TKO in the ninth, if I'm not mistaken. Hey, Bud, my bad, bruh. It's not that I thought you wasn't nice. That wasn't the issue.
It was you.
I didn't. No, I mean, I thought Earl Spence was gonna come correct.
But you also said that you didn't like when niggas be challenging you. You said that last week on the
that's
pod.
just why that's just about me taking the bet. But you know what I'm saying. But as far as the actual fight, like it's not that I didn't think that Bud Crawford could win. Mm-hmm. I just didn't think he would win. And it was because I thought Earl Spence was going to come a little more official than that. But it seems like the game plan wasn't good. I know that traditionally Earl Spence likes to come forward. That's just what he likes to do. And Bud Crawford was prepared for it. I think somebody was telling me that he said in the post game that in the first that Bud Crawford said he pretty much knew after the first round that this was about to be easy work, and then the second round happened when he dropped him the first time. It seemed like from the rip, Bud Crawford knew he had this fight. I'll be honest with you, I didn't like Errol Spence's energy coming in, like from the walk in and him at the ring. I didn't like that.
Right.
And and say what you want about Eminem, but Lose Yourself. Once Lose Yourself comes on, you know whoever played that song, that motherfucker mean business.
It's a rap. Yeah.
That motherfucker mean business when Lose Yourself come on. So I mean, Bud, shout out to Bud Crawford. Congratulations. All the way round champion. And ain't nobody really fucking with him at 147. And to be honest, ain't nobody really fucking with him at 154 unless you're talking about Canelo Alvarez. So Bud Crawford right now, best pound for pound boxer. So shout out to him.
So I'm gonna ask you a question because I don't follow boxing the way you and A-Train follow it. What about a Tank Davis versus Bud
He's too small.
matchup? Too small?
He's too small. He's too small.
Too small.
He said. He said he wouldn't come up to 147 for it, but Bud Crawford was asked about it, and he said Gervonta Davis was too small.
No. Okay.
And I tend to agree. I ain't no expert, but I think he had 134, right? 130.
Tank is
something like that. I don't think that's gonna work out for him in his favor.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say,
and he got his own shit to deal with at his weight class, and the likes of Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson. So you know,
right, yeah. Because in my head, I'm thinking, ooh, that's box office right there. if that could ever happen.
Yeah, I mean,
sometime in the
sure.
near future.
If he actually, if they actually put that together, sure, we don't watch it. But
yep.
Yeah, but I don't. Yeah.
But obviously, a lot would have to happen for that to really become a reality.
Well, I don't know all the particulars of what would have to happen. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't know that it would be that difficult outside of the fact that he.
Aside from the weight class change.
I would assume if he can gain the weight and make the weight. I don't know of any other pressing particulars.
Yeah.
I don't know about him, but like I said, too small.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, Tank still has some legal stuff to, I guess, kind of take care of.
Yeah, that too. But I don't think that would stop him from fighting Bud Crawford. I think they could sweep that under the rug. Mm-hmm. Not sweep it under the rug, but they can get that dealt with.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I hear you on that. I gotta tell you, man, because I went to New York this weekend, and I'm so blown that I didn't get an opportunity to watch this fight live. And I'll be honest with you, just kind of going into the night, because we had my niece's party that day, and we got back to the house, and it was like, man, am I really going somewhere? Like, I ain't going to no sports bar to, watch this fight, whatever. I'll just catch the highlights or whatever.
Yeah.
And the next morning, I get on Instagram, and I want to give a shout out to the homie Chris Mathis, celebrity barber we had on, a couple months ago. And he posted on his IG that he had the projector screen, and he was in the backyard, and he had some people over the crib watching the fight. And I was like, I could have hit this dude up and could have, came through there. So, I hit him up on IG and told him, man, I was thinking I would have, slid through. And he was like, yeah, you got my number, bro. Like, you can slide through anytime. So, so a little bit blown that I didn't think about that opportunity until after the fight the next day and whatnot. But shout out to Bud Crawford, man. I thought this was an evenly matched fight going in, as I'm sure everybody did. But yeah, it looked bad, man.
It was bad.
It was bad.
He didn't look himself, man. Errol Spence, he didn't look himself. Yeah. Now, I'm not making no excuses for him, because this was the fight of his career. So I'm not making no excuses for him, but he didn't look himself.
Yeah. Hey, got a couple announcements. So our guest tonight is going to be old homie of ours, going back to the X Squad affiliate days. We got the homie Vince Wright coming on, the Sports Done Wright Podcast, based out of Minnesota, talks all Vikings, T-Wolves, you name it. That's the dude to go to for Minnesota sports. So he's coming on with us in about 10 minutes. And, we talking Vikings offseason, Timberwolves, and, we're going to, we've been doing this top 5 players in the division. So this week we're going to do top 5 players in the NFC North, which is his division. And so, we're going to have some fun with that. Second thing I want to do before we move forward, if you folks noticed in my shot here, if you're watching live, I have this canvas painting of LeBron James right here. And this is the second time that I'm showcasing it. I want to give a shout out to a friend of my mother's who actually sent this to me as a gift over the break. Her name is Lolita Hunt Robinson. I think she lives in Georgia down that way. And, I just want to say thank you for the canvas art, because it's really, really dope. So just want to, give her a shout out there. And just a side note, when this came in the mail, shout out to my wife, Debbie, she looked at it and was like, who's that? I was like, it's LeBron. Like, you don't recognize that? And she was like, it looked like a Mon Shumpert. And I was like, yeah, that's not nobody's making a canvas of Amon Shumpert.
Hey man, I don't know who people making canvases of. I ain't gonna say that.
Unless you Tiana Taylor, ain't nobody making a canvas.
Unless you fuck with Amon Shumpert. Some people fuck with Amon Shumpert. Yeah. He seemed like a cool nigga.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I agree. He seems like a cool cat, but nah.
I bet you he got some canvases of himself.
Oh, I'm sure he does.
Me and somebody had to make them.
I'm sure he does. Wouldn't surprise me. It also wouldn't surprise me if he made them himself. I'm gonna just pay respect to the homie right there. Shout out to Amon Shumpert though.
I mean, that kind of felt like shade, but it's all good.
Nah, no shade whatsoever. But Lolita, thank you for the canvas art on a serious tip. This is some dope artwork that when she's got a lot more of this stuff, and I'll I guess offline I'll share you her Facebook page at some point because she's really got some dope stuff on there.
Right.
Hey, so while we're waiting for Vince to come on, I wanted to bring this up to you. So I'm scrolling on Twitter, and it's the NBA offseason. And I'm noticing a lot of dudes in the NBA are getting married this offseason, right? So Joel Embiid, Jalen Brunson, Trey Young, I forget the other cat, Isaiah Hartenstein with the Knicks. All these cats got married. It seemed like around the same time, whatever. And I was like, oh, okay, that's what's up. Doing the thing or whatever. And so, there has to be a conversation about, their choice of women, because all the women, of the names that I threw out there, they're all white women, right? And so, somebody's got to come in there and be like, hey, where's the sisters at? What's going on here? I'm not going to ask you if this is a big deal or no big deal, because I know for you, it's not a big deal. And, for me, it's not a big deal either. But I do want to identify that there's somewhat of a reason for why you see what you see. For some folks see, these, black athletes marrying white women the way you see them. And I posted it on Twitter the other day because some cats in there was like, yo, like where's the black women, and the reality of the matter is that when it comes to black women's circles in power white institutions, it doesn't match with the white women's circles in power white institutions. Black women enroll in HBCUs more than they do PWIs. And when you're a black athlete and you get accepted to these big universities, you're more likely going to see more white women than you are going to see black women. Doesn't mean that, no black woman, goes to, these big schools. It doesn't mean that, but it just means that the likelihood that you're going to, go into a situation where you're attending school with more black women versus more white women is just not the reality when you go to a big school like, some of these athletes do. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Your thoughts on, what I just said there.
Hey, man, whoever you love, you love. If you love them, then love on them. But if you, I don't know what the statistics of white women who go to white schools to black women who go to black schools, and I don't know all them numbers. I know that if you meet somebody and you fuck with them, then you fuck with them, and that tends to be the situation. I don't look. I mean, because some could say, all right, well, if you give a fuck about black folks and keeping it in the community, then you would go out and make a conscious effort to go find a black mate. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So look. So there's that argument. Me personally, it ain't my business. If that's who you fuck with, then that's who you fuck with. And if there is some grand scheme to keep black athletes with white women. Hey.
Yeah, and it's that because in my post I also made the mention that you can argue that it's somewhat a systemic thing. You know, again, I mean, and you don't have to really know the statistics, right? So
I mean, we've been having this conversation, not me and you, but this has been a conversation forever. Rich dudes don't want to deal with black women. Rich black dudes don't want to deal with black women for whatever. And look, I don't know it to be true. I don't know. I just know it's been a conversation forever.
Of course.
What I'll say is I don't know who these niggas like. I don't know what these women are doing to keep these dudes around. I don't, look, man, it's way too many variables to make a bold out there statement when you're dealing with something as serious and emotional as love and who you laying down with. So for me to be out here and be like, oh, Joel Embiid, you could have got you a black junk, like, yeah, you could have, but you didn't want that.
Of course,
you didn't want. You wanted the white joint that you wanted, or Trey Young, you wanted the white joint that you wanted. Mm-hmm. And if that's what you want, man, that's your business. More black joints for me.
Yeah. Look, I mean, no disagreement there. I was getting ready to make the point that you don't necessarily have to, like, know the statistics. But when I watch, like, these bowl games and these college football games and, the camera pans to the crowd and stuff, and we know what we see. We see mostly white people in the stands at some of these games. And is it the tell all, be all? I don't think it's a tell all be all, but I think it's some of it.
I don't think it. I'll be honest with you. The some of it that I believe it is that it's because just statistically there's more white people around here than black people is around here. But me and you know on a very, very personal level with all the women we have on this show, that there are plenty of women in this world that are in sports circles and scenarios that can run into these guys and meet these guys, and they can make the choices to be with these women. Absolutely. So it's not like a black. It's not like. It's this big ass pool of white women, and we never and the black athlete can't never see the black woman. The fact of the matter is that they make a choice, and it's their lives to make a choice.
They can.
So God bless them. I mean, for real, if keeping it in the community that's what people's hang-ups are, then maybe you should give more credence to LeBron James. Maybe you should give more love to Russell Westbrook. You know what I'm saying? So so maybe you should be showing them more love for what they do. That's more catered towards what you like. But truth be told, that shit ain't your business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, I agree. No, I agree with that. I agree with that. And I respect everybody's opinions in regards to this kind of topic and stuff. If you believe black people should marry black people, cool. Like
God
that's
bless.
I definitely got no issue with that. I mean, I'd love to see, black couples, 100% doing their thing. I got no issue with that. But if you in a situation and you see somebody, you know somebody for a long time and they a different race than you, and you genuinely, love this person, then, you do you do your thing.
Right.
I'm not knocking these guys for, making the choices. I'm just making the point that, is it easier? Is it easier to date white women at these big universities? I would tend to think it is based on
I'm
availability.
Say no. I don't think it's no. I'm gonna say no.
It's not easy. Okay.
It's easier. No, it's not easier.
Mm-hmm.
No, if you see a black, again, I guess statistically. But you like who you like, right? Like if you see a black joint and she around, then you like her. You around.
Absolutely.
I mean, maybe. So I mean, look, man. Maybe there is more, but like I said, I know that just based in the past year,
mm-hmm.
that there are plenty of women out here that like sports and that are around these sports circles that these athletes could run into.
Of course.
Bad joints.
So
you know what I'm saying. So I don't think it's no issue. I think they're making choices for whatever reason. Those are the choices they're making,
mm-hmm.
and cool for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, facts. What else you got?
Man, for real, I'm ready to talk about. I'm ready to get into these Vikings, man. I ain't really got too much. I ain't gonna hold you.
Yeah. Well, he'll be up here. He'll be up here in a minute. He'll definitely be up here in a minute.
This would be a fun time to do the whole scrolling. Did you hear the rumors about Earl Spence being high?
No. Well, this was before the fight?
At the fight, no, during the fight there was a
rumor.
Oh,
during the fight. Okay,
yeah,
no.
So
no.
Like I said, I noticed he was a little off.
Mm-hmm.
And the Bama was saying, somebody was saying in Twitter circles and maybe lower totem pole media that he was high. So I haven't heard anything that would
nobody confirmed or denied.
I mean, well, and why would somebody confirm? I'm just talking about nobody has had even interest in perspective as to why they felt that way. But that was different. Have you been paying attention to Ravens training camp?
I'll be honest with you, bro. I'm the kind of dude. I'm just waiting for the season to start. And shout out to all of our fellow podcasters and content creators that are covering their prospective teams, training camps and everything. Like I'm seeing D from D Love Sports doing some stuff with the Steelers. She also did some stuff with another league, I think over the weekend. She's everywhere. Like she's.
Let me tell you something about Shawty. Shawty. I remember watching her having a tweet rant about not wanting to work for like ESPNs and all that because you know how much they make. But I mean, if anybody looks the part of that, it's certainly D Love Sports.
Absolutely.
Shout out to her. But while you talking about Steelers training camp, man, I am not gonna hold you. So obviously my timeline is filled with training camp, Pittsburgh, whatever.
Yep.
And
I saw the play.
I am loving the energy between Joey Porter and George Pickens. Man, I need George Pickens to be our franchise wide receiver for the foreseeable future. Look, I don't want him to go nowhere. I want him to be paid properly. His energy is what Pittsburgh needs. Joey Porter at cornerback, that energy is what Pittsburgh needs. I'm liking. I ain't about to get too hype. I ain't going. I like this football team's energy. Yes. I'm liking what we're doing. We just picked up Quan Alexander from the Jets. Yeah, like we're attaching. We're attacking the inside linebacker to death. Only thing that's blowing me is that Cody Trice, who 6th round cornerback, 6'2". I had high hopes for him. He's out for the year, so that's a blower. But everything is looking good so far from what I'm seeing, and I haven't took a 100% big deep dive into it, but just me watching clips and reading short articles. Shout out Alex Kozora. I got high hopes for my team this year, man. I got high hopes for this team. I do not believe it is far-fetched to say that Pittsburgh Steelers could win a division.
Oh, of course you're going to say that.
Nah, but I mean, yeah, I mean, of course, but...
Of course you're going to say that.
Right, there's no way to really be like... There's no way to really be like, there's no way to say that and then say, but no, this time I really mean it, because I really mean it every time I say it.
Of course you do.
It's something about this team, and again, it's early, it's just training camp. It's something about what I'm looking at. It's something about the energy around this team right now. I just hope it all comes together, man. I am excited, man. I am excited.
This is what I've learned from all these years of watching training camp and all that stuff. And especially kind of going back to the Flacco years, like the later Flacco years where, he looked good, the deep ball looked great, and da-da-da-da, and then you get to the regular season and the offense looked trash. You know what I'm saying? So I try not to take the camp as serious, and I just take it as entertainment, right? Because, you'll find some entertaining things when you watch these camps. Like, I was watching a clip of the Chiefs training camp, and the touchdown that Kelsey caught, and whoever was covering him, I forget who it was, Kelsey just basically swung at the dude, swung at his face, whatever. Yeah. And, nothing really came out of it. Like, it wasn't a real, like, scuffle or anything. But, stuff like that happens, and it's like, oh, okay, I'm entertained. Like, there's some action there. And then, like with the Ravens today, the highlight was Lamar threw his first interception that went through Nelson Aguilar's hands, and Marlon Humphrey picked it off. So, again, it's just camp. I don't use that as a barometer for how the season's going to play out. It's just entertainment purposes for me at this point with the camp. So, so we got our guests here. We got the homie Vince Wright. Sports Done Wright is the podcast. Live from Minnesota, covers all the Minnesota sports teams. You could listen to his podcast on, is it Spreaker.com still? Or
man, Spreaker, or just anywhere you listen to podcasts,
okay.
Apple, Spotify, all that stuff.
Okay, all right. Well, that's what's up. Hey, man, welcome back, bro.
What's happening, man?
It's been a minute.
Hey, man, always good to be back in the barbershop with the homies. Big Maestro, what's going on? Trey Frazier in the house. Your Knicks are still sorry, but my Timberwolves are more sorry. So, we talk about
exactly. Let's not go there just yet.
The Wizards are trash too. Don't worry.
Hey, so let me do this. I'm gonna pivot a little bit because I know you like boxing, and your fellow buddy up there in Minnesota, RC. Shout out to RC. I know he's a big boxing guru also. I wanted to get your opinion about the fight over the weekend and what you saw and all that.
Right. Well, like everybody else, man, I saw complete domination by Terrence Bud Crawford. We all had it was a pick 'em fight going in, fight of the year. We finally got a big match signed up. But, man, you got to hand it to Bud Crawford, man. He just went in there and, first couple rounds, just kind of felt it out and all that stuff. But after that, as we saw, man, just complete domination. He had an answer for everything. And I think, Errol just got a little confused in there. And I do believe what he said, too. His timing's off, but part of your timing's being off is Terrence Crawford. I mean, the man's jabbing. He's a great boxer. He's got the power, as we saw, by putting him down 3-4 times, whatever it was. And it was just, one of the better boxing exhibitions by any boxer that we've seen, obviously, in recent history. Mm-hmm. And, Bud deserves everything he's getting, man. He is the king of Omaha, Nebraska, out here in flyover country. But, his fans, they would pack the arenas when he started out, ESPN, HBO, Showtime, all that stuff. And now, two-time undisputed champion, 2 different weight divisions. And, the world's his oyster right now. So, it was a tremendous fight. I'm glad I got to see it. And I hope they have some big numbers on here, whether they, people watched it legally or illegally, because, Terrence Crawford is a machine, man. So, he'll take some time off. We'll see what's next for him. The one thing I will say before we jump to the other topics is as of right now, I don't need a rematch.
Yeah.
We agree.
Right. Yeah. The rematch clause is in there for Spence. And once cooler heads prevail, I think maybe even his corner would be like, look, man, let's go a different route here first. Yeah. And if we can meet back up, and maybe if we can get him at our weight of 154 instead of you having to come back down to 147, but to the winners go the spoils. So, when they do meet next, if they do meet next, the winner gets to pick the weight division. And obviously, Crawford's going to keep it at welterweight more than likely.
A quick shout out to the Facebook live chat. Damian Adams is up in here, and then also your buddy RC, Vince.
What up?
He said that he took away his jab by out-jabbing him, and his counter shots were crucial.
Yeah. I mean, the counter punching was magnificent. You know, he got a couple knockdowns off some counters. Yeah. So, I mean, it wasn't a perfect performance, but it was pretty close to perfect if you're a Crawford fan.
Yeah. So, what do you see next for Bud Crawford? I mean, I went into work the next Monday, and I think the consensus around in my circle is ain't nobody that can mess with him at 147 or 154.
No, I agree. I mean, you know, anything can happen. You know, anytime you fight somebody, you know, you can land a lucky punch or whatever. But right now, between those two divisions, and those are two of the money divisions as well. So there's fights to be made for some scratch. But man, I don't really see anybody beating him right now. I mean, he is just on top of the game, and he let us know it last weekend.
I throw some names at you. Charlo was a name. Canelo Alvarez was a name. Obviously, earlier before the fight, Gervonta Tank Davis made some comments like he could see him, and he basically said he was too small. And you know, obviously, I agree.
And for the record, Maestro, I do believe Tank can take him on. If he bulks up to that weight class, I do believe he can take him on, for the record.
Take him on? What you mean take him on? Like, you think he could beat him?
Yeah, I think he could beat him.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, you know, that's not out of, you know, that's not like a crazy thought. I mean, you know, Tank Davis is a very, very good fighter. And, you know, it's just that right now we're at the point with Crawford that it's just, I got to see it in the ring. Like, you know, I am not betting against Crawford right now until he actually loses. So, no disrespect to all those other fighters, Caleb Plant, all these other fighters out there as well. But right now, man, it's Bud's world, and we just living in it.
Yeah. And let me make my statement clear. I lost $65 over the past weekend. I'm not making that mistake no more. He's nobody that not Tank, not Charlo, not Alvarez, not none of them is messing with this dude right now. Ain't nobody messing with him in the next. He 35, 36. Ain't nobody messing with him in the next 4 or 5 years. Period.
Man, let's see what you could have did with $65. Man, you could have went to America's Best, got some wings.
I don't need that many wings in my life.
Not just wings. I'm just saying you could have got some wings along with some other stuff, maybe some alcohol, you know, involved with that too.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure he's enjoying that nice bottle of Reposado that I had to purchase. So,
Hey, follow the money sometimes, man. Follow the crowd sometimes.
No. Again, I'll double down. Don't talk to me crazy. It's not that I thought that Errol Spence was going. This was obviously an even, like, nobody know who was going to.
Yeah, of course,
you know
of course.
But you know, I get to talking shit with people, and you know, my ego gets ahead of me, and you know, look, I'll be honest with you. For ego, $65 wasn't a bad price for ego. Sometimes ego.
That I agree with. I agree with that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And by the way, I picked Errol Spence too, but in a decision.
Yeah.
So I mean, Maestro, that wasn't crazy thoughts at all. Like I said, going into this fight, Bud was a slight betting favorite. So you know, I went into the prop bets, and the prop bet that I was looking at that I should have bet for, I think it was like plus 2,500. Was Crawford by stoppage between rounds 7 and 9.
Ooh. Wow.
Right. So, because, you know, you can't bet on Crawford just straight up because there's no money to be won.
Exactly.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
So then you got to start looking at either Spence or the prop bets. And, you know, that's what I was trying to do. I had a friend, we can't bet sports here in Minnesota. So
really?
I had a friend that was going, yeah. No, they do. Hey, we just got a legal weed yesterday.
Oh, congrats.
So started with the Bud.
Congrats.
But, you cannot bet on sports still in Minnesota. So I had a friend who was jetting down to Iowa last week, and I almost gave him a call to, you know, kind of wire him some money, but I wish I would have now. But
that reminds me, what is your state waiting for? Because one of one of the criticisms before the state of Maryland here got their sports books and was able to, gamble on sports is that they were just letting money just, get away from them. Like, this was easy money to make. So in the case of Minnesota, which is a much bigger state, like, what the hell's going on? Like, what's taking them so long?
So, very good question. Now, during the last election, and for people out there, I'm not trying to get political, so if you're a Republican, don't get mad. If you're a Democrat, don't get mad. But, the Democrats here took control of all three state houses and the governorship. So they, the House of Representatives, the state Senate, and the governor, all Democratic here.
Mm-hmm.
They ran on legalizing weed, and a big portion of those people talked about legalizing sports betting as well.
Yeah.
And it was actually a Republican who actually authored two of the big sports betting bills here. And it just did not pass for whatever reason. They were very hopeful that, this was finally going to be the year, because we're kind of, surrounded too. Wisconsin passed it last year.
Mm-hmm.
To our south, Iowa's been doing it for a couple of years, and that's where a lot of Minnesotans go.
Yeah.
Minneapolis, St. Paul, we're minutes from both of those. Well, minutes from the Wisconsin border, roughly about an hour and a half drive to the first casino you'll hit in Iowa if you go down 35W. So not far, but you still got to kind of go out of your way to get that sports bet in, unless you find something illegal online.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. I thought this year was honestly, Trey, going to be the best hope our state had to pass sports betting.
Yeah.
So, back to the drawing board next
That's
year,
crazy.
I guess. But I hope they do it soon, because, they are wasting a lot of money.
That's crazy. I remember going to New York. This was years ago when I started getting into FanDuel. And it wasn't necessarily like the prop bet stuff. This was more just setting up, 5-man lineups and stuff. And I get to New York, and the app is telling me, hey, you can't bet. Like, you can't play. And I was like, oh,
right,
snap.
Yeah.
So it's the same situation there in Minnesota. Like, if I came to Minnesota,
absolutely, yep,
I can't play FanDuel. That's why.
Well, exactly, yep. DraftKings, I got both of the apps on my phone, and I got to get over to Iowa. Wisconsin, actually, you can't even use those two, even though they pass sports betting. I think there's some state sanctioned apps or something that you got to use there. And man, I don't know. I hope they pass it, because they'll find out with the marijuana, with all this, the money they'll start raking in on that. But
they'll eventually pass it.
Sports books the same. It's just a lot of money that's going over to Wisconsin and Iowa right now.
It's gonna take some time.
I don't even know that it was. I can't imagine why it would take much longer, because, like you said, they got to know how much the money they're missing out on.
It's too much money.
I just can't see it. I wouldn't be so downtrodden. I'm pretty sure that they're going to come to that senses pretty soon.
Yeah, I hope so, man, because now I know we're going to talk about me being down at the Super Bowl and whatnot a bit, but that was a great thing about Arizona too.
Yeah.
Arizona, when they passed this stuff, they were still more of a red state. So it was kind of surprising that they passed legal bud and sports betting.
Right.
And, going to these Phoenix Suns games the past couple winters and stuff, they got FanDuel right there in the arena. So if you go, let's say you want to go from the game into the sports book, they'll, they give you a wristband in case you want to go back in the arena.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, me and my crew, we were down there, man, and we just wound up hanging out in the sports book, because you can go sit outside on the patio. You got all the games right there.
Yep.
They got the heat lamps going, because, winter for them. But, it still gets a little chilly at night out there. So the baseball stadium was home to the Caesars book. And obviously all the casinos have their own sports book as well. So, I mean, Minnesota, please wake up. Please wake up.
For sure. Well, let's talk about your Super Bowl experience. Let's talk about your experience in Arizona, man. How was that? What was going on? What were you doing?
So now this actually wasn't for my show. This wasn't for Sports Done Right. I was, I obviously networked with people here in the Twin Cities and the podcast, communities and whatnot.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine that I know that hosts another show, they were down there. They get mad numbers. I mean, what is it? The Geary Stein and I'm forgetting the third guy's last name, so I do apologize. But anyway, they have connects, excuse me, every week on their show. It's, big former athletes, this and that, whatnot. So friend of mine, Will, who was coming in town, he reached out to me on a Wednesday night, texted me and said, hey, we may be able to get you in tomorrow for a day pass on Radio Row. Send me your info, all that stuff. Turns out, obviously, that's what happened. So, got in the next day and, dude, it was a trip, man. I mean, the whole thing, just first off, going behind barricades and whatnot. I mean, the whole, downtown's just, walled off.
Yeah.
And so, being able to do that, going and picking up your credential. And here's the first thing they tell you, and there's signs everywhere. Do not take pictures with your credential. Like no selfie. So, all the people like turn it around, put it down your shirt.
Yeah.
All this stuff. It was just kind of a weird thing, but I don't know, some security maybe or something. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, look, anything to take pictures with celebrities and former athletes and stuff. Of course, right. Oh yeah, I ain't tripping off of that.
Oh, but I mean, I'll follow the rules because they're the rules. But at the same time, I think part of the flex is the little credential. I think that's part of the flex. Right. Mm-hmm. So I don't, and I only say that because I've seen plenty of media people take a picture of the credentials. So that's always been a flex. So I wonder what was the hiccup, or why they didn't want it this time.
That's a good question, man. I'm gonna try and maybe figure it out here. But yeah, so that was just kind of the one caveat. But other than that, walked across the street to the convention center, and you're off and running. And you walked into the big, huge ballroom, which is Radio Row, and it's just kind of like you see on TV, all these radio shows, and now actually a lot of podcasts that are out there.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, man, first I'm taking it all in, and then my friends just like, okay, well, just basically just kind of go up and talk to people, and ask them for pictures and stuff, and
right.
That's what we started doing. So I'm walking around and looking at people getting interviewed, and that's always the thing, you wait for the interview to end. So. And you go from there. So as they're getting up, kind of going to their next thing and be like, hey, Tony Dorsett, hey, like I told him, like, my dad's from Western Pennsylvania, grew up right down the road from you. Can I get a picture?
Yeah.
Oh, really cool. Yeah, no problem.
That's what's up.
Yep.
So long as, and I told people, long as you are respectful of these folks, because the thing is that they're on a schedule as well.
Yeah.
So let's say they're sitting down with the Barbershop Sports Talk Show. You guys interview them. They have handlers that are getting them to the next spot they have to be.
Right.
So
yeah.
More, 99% of the time when you ask for pictures, you're going to have a handler going, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Montana has to get to his next interview, or, Mr. Gronkowski's got to get to his next place. And then they'll usually jump in. And that's what happened when I got my picture with Primetime. He was up there, doing a couple spots on XM radio.
Yeah.
And when he got done, came walking down, was like, hey, Coach, love what you're doing out there at Colorado so far. Can I get a picture? And his handler's like, no, he's got to get over here. And Prime's like, nah, let me get a picture with the big man real quick.
Yeah. Well, they're respectful about it, so I can appreciate that.
Right. And so, and I tried to pull the same thing. Western Pennsylvania is a football factory, and that's where my dad's from. So my dad kind of grew up with people like Joe Namath and, Dan Marino, Tony Dorsett, the Griffeys, all these people, man.
Yeah.
All these major athletes out of Western Pennsylvania. So then obviously Joe Montana comes walking by. He's from Beaver Falls or whatever. And I'm like, hey, my dad's from Brownsville, Pennsylvania, right down the road. And Joe's just like, hey, that's great, man, but I got to go. Kept moving.
Right.
Nice.
Okay,
nice.
Cool. No problem.
Right.
Hey, I got a word with Joe Montana. That's more than I'd ever thought I'd ever get in life, right?
For sure.
Yeah, for real.
Sure.
Yeah, man. But it was really, really cool for all the reasons that you see. You're meeting some of the people that you grew up idolizing and watching on TV and wanting to be in a couple instances. And for the most part, everybody was just very, very cool, man. I mean, radio hosts as well, spent like 10 minutes talking with Jim Rome.
Okay.
Some other people like that. And I was just like, man, this is just too much. And that was just one day for me, let alone, the whole week.
Right.
That's crazy. Hey, your buddy's got a question for you, Vince, RC in the Facebook live chat. He said, did you encounter Emmitt Smith in Arizona because he heard some things about him when being approached by someone who wanted to take a picture with him?
I did get a picture with Emmett. He was very nice, because I was a pseudo 49ers fan back in those days too. I hate the Cowboys. I hate the Cowboys. And one of my best friends, one of my best homies, shout out Kim Lester. He was out there and he grew up a Cowboy fan, and we just be at the bus stop on Monday mornings just ripping each other apart.
Yeah.
So, I was just talking to him about those days in San Francisco and, man, breaking my heart with them championships. He's like, well, hey, man, San Francisco broke our hearts a couple times too. So, but that was the thing, fellas, was just now all of a sudden it's like, you think about it real quick. It's like, I'm talking to Emmitt Smith. I'm talking to Deion Sanders. I'm talking to Rob Gronkowski. I mean, right. It's crazy. Hey, I'm sitting here with Pac-Man Jones. I mean,
yeah,
it's just nuts.
Yeah, no, that I could imagine. That was crazy. My short, I wouldn't necessarily Radio Row, but my short story in that kind of situation was the last Super Bowl that was in Atlanta, which I believe
the Rams and the Patriots.
I was in Atlanta, and I was with my family, and both of my nephews are sports enthusiasts. They actually talked about starting a podcast one day. I don't know what happened with that, but we saw D'Angelo Hall, and and I think he heard my nephew say, well, he ain't no Hall of Famer, and then he kind of looked over, and I kind of had to make sure everything was good, but he definitely wasn't coming to talk to us after that, cause so yeah, but
and one thing too that I like to share with people, and especially us in the podcast game, or you're trying to host radio or trying to get involved with media, network with your fellow people, man, in this business. Because again, that's how I got in. This wasn't for Sports Done Right. It was for the Geary, Stein, and Stevens show. I finally remembered it. And just them thinking of me. Hey, Vince might like to come down. Let's see if we can get him in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I ran into Mr. Controversy, Raphael, who started off kind of back with us in the Doug Stewart days in chat room. And him and his podcast are blowing up. He's at every, Final Four, Super Bowl, this and that. So, network, talk with your fellow hosts. You never know what's going to happen. And, reach out for your credentials as well. I mean, that's the other thing, too, because people are like, oh, man, I just got this little show over here. You never know what'll happen.
Right. Yeah, I know what you mean, Vince. Shout out to Sim Russell. So I went to the Knicks playoff game against Cleveland back in April, and my guy rented a luxury box suite at MSG, and it was $365 per person, and I was like, that's a damn good price for that building in that setting for a playoff game, right? So I went and got the ticket, took the Amtrak up to New York, 3-hour ride. Got to the arena, we got to the box suite, and look who shows up. It's Latrell Sprewell. Just wanted to come through and just say what's up to everybody, take pictures, get a group picture in, and all that good stuff. So I know exactly what you're talking about, man.
Exactly, man. Exactly. And that's cool that happened. Knicks in the playoffs. I know we always talking crap and stuff, but obviously no better atmosphere than the Garden when it's bumping like that. And
no, you can't say it like that, bro. You can't say it like that. You can't say it. You can't say it with the Boston accent.
Okay.
The Garden.
That's Boston.
The Garden is TD Garden in Boston. The Garden, that's Madison Square Garden.
Or as my homies used to say, that place in Manhattan.
Hey, man,
but no, man, that's cool that you got that.
For sure. While we on basketball, man, we get to talk some Minnesota Timberwolves, man. We get to talk some offseason. Ant-Man got his contract.
Mm-hmm. Got the bag.
They trying to get, and it seems like every other year they trying to get Karl Anthony Towns to go to another team. Talk to me about the offseason.
Yeah, man. I think most of the Timberwolves fans are kind of done with Karl Anthony Towns. And listen, I mean, he has all the talent in the world. I get that. And I said this on my show a couple of days ago, actually, when I had a couple guests on. We were talking Timberwolves. I say this with all due respect for Cat because obviously with COVID, he lost 6 or 7 family members, including his
mom, right? Yeah.
And all this stuff. So I say this really out of respect, but I think a lot of Timberwolves Nation is just kind of tired of the antics on the court. The whining over, calls he thinks that he should be getting. Meanwhile, the play is going on back at the other end of the court. Now we're down 5-4 on the defensive side or stuff like that. But the thing is, how do you move a max player? And especially one now who has a trade value that is declining because of some of the on the court things that he does. Personally, I'm old school, man. I wish these 7-footers would come down and try and play some low post here every once in a while. But, the worst thing that happened for him, in my opinion, was winning that 3-point contest a couple years back. Because now that kind of justified, I'm sure, to him, hey, I won the 3-point contest. I can hit these shots. And he can every once in a while.
Yeah.
But it just, I just think that between him, this Rudy Gobert trade, which right now is not a good trade. Things may change this coming season, but for right now, not a good trade. We just got to see if they can work out together somehow. And I don't know if they can. I hope so, because I don't think, Maestro, that they're going to be able to move him.
Yeah.
And, I think they'll obviously listen, but I just don't know, and that's really what it is. It's just people just, go watch some highlights of of Cat, and you just that whole sulking and just acting like a baby a lot of times. Just people are just real tired of the act around here. So if he's gone, I don't want to say he's not going to be missed, because he'll get that Minnesota curse and he'll go somewhere else and wind up winning a ring or something, or having a very good career. But man, people will not miss Karl Anthony Towns if he is traded.
So what's the idea? What's the possibility in your mind of taking maybe less than what he's worth just to get him out of there?
That's the question, my friend. That's the question. I think, that's it. Do we take a little less and get rid of a headache? Do we, take a little less just to get him out of here? Maybe. But then you got to have Rudy step up, and then Rudy has been hit and miss as well. And, the organization is still in flux too. Alex Rodriguez and Mark Lowry they're pseudo owners at this point. They have one more big payment to make, and then the team will revert to them either at the end of this year or sometime next year. Glenn Taylor will officially step aside. He's kind of helping them run things now. Mm-hmm. But, we
really
got
right?
to take a look at our – what's that?
It's A-Rod running the show now, right?
Yep. A-Rod and his partner, Mark Lowry. And actually, and I'll send you links off the air, but A-Rod was just actually on K-Fan, the big radio sports station here a couple days ago. And I got to tell you what, man, and Trey you can relate. I'm not a Yankees fan.
Yeah.
Right? I've never really been a big fan of Alex Rodriguez in his baseball days. And obviously you have the PEDs and all this stuff. But I'm going to tell you something, man. As owner of the Minnesota Timberwolves, the dude's good. He bought a crib here. He spends a lot of time here. Mm-hmm. He's at a fair share of games. And in this interview, and I'll send it to you, he's very honest about the problems of this team. Mm-hmm. And that was very refreshing to hear, because the other thing that's going on behind the scenes, they want a new arena. Mm-hmm. And they just spent $150 million to, 2-3 years ago refurbishing Target Center where they play now.
Yep.
And obviously post-COVID, not a lot of people downtown anymore with hybrid schedules and this and that. So the corporate dollar is kind of dried up. So he does say it's going to be privately funded. Obviously, I can't wait to see how you're going to pull that off.
Yeah, right.
But A-Rod has been –
he got assets, though.
Fresh air.
He got assets. I mean, I ain't going to put it past him if he's going to privately fund it with his own money.
I'm not either. And Mark, and his partner Mark Laurie is a very rich guy, obviously too.
Yeah.
And here's what I hope for the Timberwolves with Alex Rodriguez. Let's say we need Alex Rodriguez to use all that swag that he has, because we need people, we need players up here, man, and to say, hey, come spend a winter in Minnesota, right? I mean,
but they don't want to, Vince. They don't want to.
No, exactly.
But it's like Vince is saying.
Yeah.
This is where he got to pull some strings. Hey, man.
Yes.
Put a strip club, put a bomb strip club somewhere.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Put a bomb strip club. Yeah, you got to do something that
Magic City North.
Yeah, like you got to do something that's going to be like, all right, well, it's cold, but it's warm in here.
Yeah.
So we can, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And nothing's going to get out to the press. You can do your dirt. You're going to have to do something to bring them there, because, I mean, quite frankly, y'all are stuck in the land of below average, and it's not going to change unless somebody comes or you draft some people. And I guess
Anthony Edwards
on the way. I was going to say maybe you're on the way, but are you going to strike gold twice? Are you going to strike gold three times?
Exactly. And that's what we did when we had KG here, man.
Right.
You mentioned Latrell Sprewell.
Yep.
I used to say back in those days, whoever would listen to me, I'd say the Timberwolves need to get Latrell Sprewell. We need that slasher, that dude that can just out of nowhere take 2 steps and he's dunking over somebody, that energy that he brings.
Yeah.
And they got him, and they almost got to the finals.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So A-Rod is going to really have to use his gravitas to get players up here, to come turn this thing around. And I mean, that's really all it boils down to. Mark Laurie, his partner, take care of everything else. But man, we got to have him use that A-Rod
got to go outside. He got to go outside. Yeah, he got to go outside.
You know what else could change too? You know what else could change?
What's that?
I think the coach got to change. So I watched not this past postseason, but the previous postseason when y'all went up against Memphis in the first round. And I remember, and Maestro, you could attest to this, I remember going into that series, and if it wasn't the both of us, it was me, that I thought the Timberwolves could pull off the upset against Memphis.
They should have won that series.
I thought they could have pulled it off. And there were some games in that series that they had some big leads, and they choked them leads away, and they eventually lost that series. Same thing here. Fast forward to the Lakers game, the play-in game. Up by as many points, and then you blow that game against the Lakers. And so I think it's the coach, because there's just no way that, like, I watched some of the lack of timeouts that he takes when the runs, like when they're about to lose the leads and stuff, and he just kind of lets them play. And it's like, nah, bro, you got to call timeout and, reel these guys back in and stuff. So I think you got to change the coach. I think you got to change him.
But hold on, Trey. I'm sorry, man, because this is where you be killing me at, bro. You saying that if they get a new coach, so you feel like this team is good enough right now with a better coach? Let's say they get whoever you consider to be the best coach in the league right now. This team is good enough to win a championship as constructed right now?
I don't think they're good enough to be a championship, but I think they would be good enough to advance in the playoffs. First round exit against the Grizzlies a couple years ago. First round exit against the eventual Nuggets NBA champions. I'm just talking about get out the damn first round, whether it's you play a hard fought second round series, or dare I say get to the Western Conference Finals. But I don't think you're going anywhere with this particular coach that we've seen 2 seasons in a row, 2 postseasons in a row blow games that they should have won.
But what do you think is more important, the coach or a star caliber player right now? I'm asking Vince
right now.
Definitely, yeah. We need a couple more star caliber players. We need a couple players that are going to come off the bench and really contribute consistently, instead of a guy coming off the bench and doing it one night and then gets lost for a week or 2 and does it again. Last year, you speak of the playoffs, Jaden McDaniels punching the wall and breaking his hand, last game of the season out of frustration.
Right.
That was huge. That was huge. So, this year offseason, bring back Nas Reed. Obviously, Ant-Man gets his bag, deservedly so. It's his team now. So now you got to stock the barrel around him. And as it is right now, the over-unders, I think about 42.5, 43 for victories, and that's right where they were last year. And you got to start making some headway here, and plus be in the West too.
A better coach would get that team over the hump, over the first round. Okay. Just my opinion. I'm not disagreeing with you. Just my opinion.
Sure, but in the grand scheme of things, though, Trey,
what up?
And I guess that's realistic. Those are realistic hopes to get out the first round. But you talking to a Timberwolves fan right here. We ain't talking about just getting out the first round. We talking about how, you got to think about the examples he brought. He talking about drafting KG and Latrell Sprewell, and being a series away from the finals. He's trying to get back to that.
Right, but that particular team, Vince, if I'm not mistaken, that team took baby steps before they eventually got to the conference finals, right?
And then they got kind of developed their core, and the other kind of role players, your Wally Zerbiaks of the world, Tom Gugliotta back
Troy
in the
Hudson.
day. Troy Hudson, and then like I said, then you brought in Sprewell, then you bring in Sam Cassell, right?
Right.
Those are big star players, and that's what we need to happen here again, so we can get to the very least to the finals, the conference finals, and then hopefully the NBA finals, because man, this town, I'm telling you, this is a basketball town. It's a basketball state. People just dying for the Timberwolves to really make a good push here. But, like all the other Minnesota teams, it's always kind of one and done if they do get to the playoffs.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, for me, sure, the coach ain't that good. And I'm with you. It's not that I'm disagreeing with you. I'm saying that if we're trying to get Vince and the whole city of Minnesota to their dreams of not being a mid, because this moves over to football, too, and I'm going to get there. They just so cool with being mid. They just don't want to be, for whatever reason, they don't want to be great. They just want to be mid for some reason. And the coach ain't gonna change. You gotta have the players. You need a star. You need a core. And I can't even say they tried, because I think they realized before, maybe the year into giving that dude their max, meaning Cat, that this shit wasn't going to work out.
Yeah, I think they tried, though. I disagree. I think they did try, and we could say what we want about the Rudy Gobert trade and the compensation they gave up, but I thought for a stretch, Vince, when you had Cat, Ant, when they made the Mike Conley trade, and Rudy, when you had those four players out on the floor at the same time, they actually looked good. I remember one stretch where they won 4 straight road games against, I think it was the Kings, Lakers, Golden State, and somebody else. They looked really good. It's just that Cat wasn't around the beginning of the year, and by the time he got healthy and they made the trade for Conley, that's kind of when you saw the team sort of at its, or trying to get at its best at that point.
And that's what kind of got the Ant trade stuff going. It's like, hey, wait a minute here. Ant's out. We win it, or excuse me, Ant's out. Cat's out. We're winning. What's going on here?
Yeah.
Mike, go ahead.
I was just going to say real quick to touch on Mike Conley. Obviously, he's brought in to kind of get comfortable and make Rudy feel a little bit more at home. And Mike Conley played his old ass off last year for us. Nothing but respect. But what? He's 37 years old, or however old he is. So, maybe another year, but you can't really count on him to be your main guy, obviously.
Nah.
So, again, you got to figure it out, and you got to, it takes a lot of luck too, right?
Yeah.
But, to speak on that coaching thing, it's not that Chris Finch is a bad coach. I just think that this team could use a different coach. I don't know who that is. I'm not going to sit up here and pontificate like I do. But I
Man,
think
Ime
somebody
was
else has
out
got
there,
to
man.
find a way to bring something else out of this team for them to really strive and move forward.
Ime was out there, man. And the Rockets
Yeah.
just scooped him up.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
There's a few. Mark Jackson looking for a job still.
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
I'll say this. I'll say this, and we can move on. I disagree. They didn't try. They brought in old ass Mike Conley, and like you said, with due respect, he did ball, and Mike Conley can ball, but we know he's not the answer. I feel like at some point we realized before that Cat wasn't the answer. So if you brought in Rudy Gobert to try to usurp or blend with a Cat that you already knew wasn't going to work, and then you gave away so much compensation for the dude. No, you weren't trying to make it work, because if you were trying to make it work, either you're trying to figure out how to bring in the superstars, or you're figuring out how you're using that draft capital to bring in your future. And that's not what they were doing. They're not trying. They're cool with being.
Well, I would agree. I would agree with you, Maestro, if those four players were on the floor at the same time a lot more during the season than what we saw. I think we saw like 8 games with them.
I mean, but keep it real though. But keep it real though, Trey. And I get it. They looked good for stretches of the season. In the West, how you think they was faring out?
Oh, look, they was going out in the first round. Like, don't get me wrong, but that doesn't mean that they didn't try to do something. Again, they had injuries. They made the trade. And they just couldn't find a way to get those 4 guys together more consistently.
I'm sorry you got to be a part of this. I feel you, and you're not wrong.
Yeah, I think two things can be true at the same time. I believe that the Timberwolves need a coach, and like you said, they need a core. They need star players. They need all that stuff.
But we off the coach part. Because I think we all agree that. Yeah, maybe we could find a better coach, but if you had the players around, we could roll with the coach and see what happens if you had the players around.
Mm-hmm.
The problem for me is that they instead of using the draft capital, they brought in a Rudy Gobert, who you know is not the dude that's going to take you. That's not going to him.
He wasn't the number 1 option. Let's be clear about that.
Sure, yeah,
Okay.
Him, Cat, and Conley, if that's who you want to throw in the pie, is not a starting 4, and you could put in whoever you want to put in at the 2. It's not a starting 4 that's going to compete in the West. Yeah. They know that before they made the trade. I'm sorry. We are peons in the eyes of the basketball thing. I think all of us with two eyes can look at that roster and look at the rest of the West and know they're not competing.
You kind of hit it on the head, and they brought back Naz Reid, who is a crowd favorite here now, and gave him a contract, and he earned it. Good for him. I like Naz a lot, but we need more. We need more.
Yeah.
And and it's easy for us to sit up here on the show and say that because we ain't the GM and trying to put together money in the contracts and stuff, but we need more. And we need, like I said, a player or two to be very, very consistent coming off the bench for us as well. Because, somebody goes down, it's the next man up. And too many times, these guys just really aren't prepared coming off the bench. I guess that's why they're on the bench. But, Minnesota is just dying for them Timberwolves to get back to that level, fellas. And, this year, barring injury, because I don't think they're going to move Cat. They could. I'm just saying I don't think they will. Mm-hmm. So we'll be able to see what this team looks like, and hopefully they can change it up with the 2 big men in there at the same time.
Yeah. Let's talk some football. Let's talk some Minnesota Vikings here. Shout out to Kesey in the Facebook Live chat. Shout out to Rel Scott. What up, Rel? Appreciate you, man.
Rel?
Minnesota Vikings, man. 13-4 season. A year ago, they had a lot of close games. They had the thriller in Buffalo. They had a bunch of those games where it was just like, there's something, fraudulent about them, and they're ripe for the picking when it comes to the playoffs. And, lo and behold, that first round, you go up against Saquon and the Giants, and they took y'all out. So,
and they should have beaten the Giants. Let me be very clear on my stance. They should have beaten the New York Giants.
Yeah,
they should have Maestro. And I, Trey, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that game in particular, kind of to jump ahead, and we'll go back in the season. But I was on my show. I was not confident for that game. Obviously, in the regular season, right before that, the Giants gave us a pretty tough game as well. Blah blah blah. And that's what I was saying. I just said, I said, I hope it doesn't come down to, Saquon breaking one.
Yeah.
And he broke one.
Yeah, he broke one. Yep.
Yep.
Our defense was horrible. But, that game was a very scary game. And obviously everything kind of came home to roost. So I'm sorry, Trey. I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
Yeah, nah, you was good.
That Giants game always scared the shit out of me, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And look, and let me just go ahead and tie this in, because I talked about the Timberwolves being mid, and it seems right on over to the NFL. The Vikings are cool with being mid, man. Look, I believe Kirk Cousins, talent-wise, throwing the football, if you just look at him throw a football, he is one of the better quarterbacks in the league at just throwing a football. Yep. But there's something about when you got to put it together on the football field that just don't put him in the you would think somebody with that arm talent, you could put him in the not necessarily with obviously not with the Mahomes and the Burrows and them, but maybe right up under there,
right.
At his top, he could be 10 at his right now. He could be a top 10 quarterback.
Yeah.
Reason.
I think he is. Yeah. Now it's to piggyback on what Maestro just said. Now, if you follow and if you were here, and I am considered a Cousins hater by Vikings Twitter and people that follow me and a few people that listen to my show and everything. And it's not like I'm a Cousins hater. I mean, he's the Vikings quarterback. I'm pulling for Kirk Cousins, man. I want my Vikings to win the Super Bowl. But I think we've also kind of seen what we get with Kirk Cousins. So I call myself a Kirk Cousins realist.
Get the good with the bad.
Now, a few weeks ago, Quarterback drops on Netflix. Because obviously you guys follow different teams and whatnot, but Vikings Twitter, we got God behind that offensive line. Yeah. Everybody's just like, oh my God, Kirk Cousins. Oh, look, he's such a family man and his wife. And look at him read the story to his son and, all this stuff. And he great dude. And he is phenomenal in the community up here.
So he's a great person.
He then does a lot of work in our community as well up here in some of the neighborhoods and stuff. But I really think that Minnesota, the ever popular motto, Minnesota nice, wink, wink. But, they are kind of okay with just, oh, shucks, he's such a nice guy. Oh, shucks, man, look what he does off the field. Oh, that poor man, look at him take those shots to the ribs and stuff. So the good thing about that show was it did humanize Kirk. Like, we knew he got hit a lot last year, most of any quarterback, actually.
Yeah.
We didn't get the flavor of them ribs until, I saw him in grunting and, really expressing himself when he's getting laid out like that. But yeah, man, Minnesota fans are okay to a certain degree with just a good effort. He gave his best. Gosh darn it, he tried. And he's a good family man and this and that. But I'm just like, he's got one playoff win. And I know it's a team sport, right? I mean, Kirk can't just go out and do everything himself. And our defense was putrid the past few years. We're bottom of the barrel defense.
Yeah, right.
But as I said about Kirk, when he got here, oh, Vince, how can you say that? Look at all these yards he's thrown for and stuff. I'm like, well, Washington loses. So they're playing from behind. Of course, they're passing a lot more. The stats were kind of hollow for me. Now, do I think Kirk Cousins can win a Super Bowl with the right pieces in place? Sure. Trent Dilfer's got a Super Bowl ring.
Absolutely.
There's all kinds of quote unquote game manager quarterbacks with rings.
Yeah, Brad
Johnson. So it's not like we need him to ball out of this world. But I'll say it again, for Kirk Cousins to be successful, you basically have to have the best offensive line in football because he's not mobile. He can't run a whole lot. So if he can sit back there in that pocket, that's when he'll kind of get a little OJ on you and slice you up. But the moment, and I know it's easy. Well, of course, Vince, when there's pressure on the quarterback, that changes things. But he doesn't run, so his options are very limited. So we got to really bolster up this offensive line, which, by the way, the Minnesota Vikings did not do. They brought back all 5 starters. So unless these guys found a way to play better, it's going to be very interesting to see if they can protect Kirk Cousins because, you guys saw Netflix and that show. He can't take another season like that, I don't believe. He takes some of those shots again, he ain't going to be able to kind of complete some of these games. So, I think Kirk Cousins is a top 10 quarterback. I think with the right stuff to help protect him, and obviously he's got some weapons to work with. But that one and out last year again in the Giants game, and then to speak on what you were saying too, coming back in these games. Obviously, they had the greatest comeback ever against Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Obviously the Bills game, which was, one of the most classic games ever. And then a game you're forgetting about, we call it the double doink game up here. Remember that last second or last field goal when they played in London? It bounced up off the crossbar, hit the other bar, and fell through.
I remember that. Yeah.
So the double doink game, as we call it. So, yeah, and that ain't going to be happening this year. You ain't going to be coming back from 33, 35, 40 points down.
33 to nothing and come back and win.
Exactly.
Some wild stuff, man. But, I mean, y'all backed up some of them performances with, like, I recall the egg y'all laid against Dallas at home. I recall that. That was the week after the Buffalo game, if I'm not mistaken, too. And y'all playing the Eagles, which was earlier in the season, but they kind of ran y'all up out of town also. Rel Scott's got a comment here. He says, I agree with Vince Wright. The media in the Midwest is totally different from Philly, Boston, New York.
Absolutely.
He would have been gone 2-3 years ago with just one playoff win. I agree with that 100%.
I agree with that.
And
I want to clarify my statement. Kirk Cousins playing at his highest potential is a top 10 quarterback. Right now, he is not.
I think he's a top 10 quarterback, but, what does that really mean, in terms of certain things? So, let's break it down. Like we said, the offensive line, they brought back all the same starters, so hopefully these guys can play better. Adam Thielen's gone now, so, we're going to have a new number 2 with the wide receiver.
Jordan Addison.
Yeah, that we drafted out of SC. Dalvin Cook's gone, so he's replaced.
Yeah, Madison is the guy, right?
He's a baller, man. Let me tell you something. In the games that he played last year, most of them he rushed for over 100 yards. He's a fast dude. He knows what he's doing. I feel bad. Love Dalvin Cook, but like again, I keep saying this as I said on my show. But it's just the wrong time to obviously be playing running back in the NFL as well. And Madison's going to come in there. But he got tweaked up a little bit yesterday in practice, so I doubt we'll see much of him in the preseason. But he's a solid dude, man, and I'm very excited for his future and what he can do for us this season. It's really going to come up to the defense, my friends on the Vikings. We got some new players on the defensive side of the ball, which are much needed. Lewis Seen in the backfield. He suffered a compound fracture of the leg in that London game. And so he wound up missing most of the year. He's back. He was our number 1 draft pick a couple years ago. So we're getting a little bit younger in the defensive backfield. And, we can just get a pass rush going here consistently.
What about Danielle Hunter? Is he back with them?
He's back on a 1-year deal, signed yesterday, or was it yesterday or the day before? But anyway, back on a 1-year deal. And we need him to play like he did a couple years ago. When it looked like this dude might be a future Hall of Famer if this streak of his keeps going. So yeah, just I haven't really followed too much of preseason out there at headquarters. I'm going to get into that a little bit more this weekend, but it's really going to come down to the Vikings defense and if they can make some adjustments there, and the offensive line playing, literally 10 times better than they did last year.
I don't know about that offensive line, bro. I thought y'all needed to address that.
Yeah,
and the thing is, listen to us. We're talking about a 13-4 team, right?
Right.
That's the
let's
funny
be
part
clear.
about it.
It won't be 13-4 next year.
No, I don't think so.
Certainly won't.
I hope so, but I don't think so.
Hey, you might not need 13 wins to win the NFC North.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. But the Lions are definitely on y'all heels.
Well, that's the thing. Obviously, Detroit, and I said it last year, even though the Vikings put together that season for kind of the second stretch of the season, man, you can definitely have made an argument that Detroit was the best team in the division. So here's the thing for Detroit. And on the show that I just posted of mine last night, I had a Detroit Lions fan, one of the co-hosts on there. And will Detroit be Detroit? Will they find a way to just kind of keep being Detroit, finding a way to lose these games and this and that? Or do they finally build off of last year's success?
I can understand that thinking, yeah.
And go from there and then push, as of right now, I would say Minnesota's the favorite. So let's say push the Vikings for that division crown.
Yeah.
Yeah, and don't sleep on the Bears too, man. I wouldn't sleep on them either.
Why?
I'm not sleeping on anybody, man. I'm a Vikings fan. So I've had my heart broken all kinds of ways, brother. I'm not sleeping on anybody because I could sit up here and start talking crap about Green Bay. All of a sudden, Jordan Love lights us up and then, does something. The Bears, I got to talk a little bit with Justin Fields down at the Super Bowl.
Nice.
And I told him, I said, as a Vikings fan, long as you ain't playing us, I wish you all the success in the world. Because I'm a big fan of his. I was a big fan of his at Ohio State.
Yeah.
He's real cool, brother. He didn't have to talk to me. And, he spent some time with me down there, just me and him rapping.
Yeah.
And he needs an offensive line. He just needs some protection and some receivers. So will the Bears
and the defense
try and give them that?
And the defense, too, because that, they traded Roquan at the halfway point. And then right after they did that, that's when you kind of saw the Bears offensively kind of, go on a run. It's just the defense was so bad.
Right. No, yeah. And that's the thing, too. I mean, we know what Justin can do with his feet and all that. And I know he takes criticism, for the passing game and all this stuff. But, give him some real receivers to work with. Give him a real nice
got
tight
DJ
end
Moore.
To work with.
We'll see what happens with DJ Moore and with Daryl Mooney being at a 2. We'll see how that works. But, yeah. But I ain't gonna hold you. The Bears gonna be the Bears. This is a race between the Vikings and the Lions. I hate to be that guy. It's a race between the Vikings and the Lions. I am sleep on the other
for the division. Yes, I agree with you there.
Yeah.
I will say this about the Bears. Wild card contention, I do believe they're legitimate to get one of those 3 wild cards.
You think the Bears are getting the wild card this year?
I think legitimately, I think they can be in contention for a wild card. This is the NFC we're talking about here. This ain't the AFC.
I understand. You're saying
let's be real. Let's be real. Let's be real. Let's be real here. Let's be real.
I love
Philadelphia.
That's why.
Philadelphia, we know Philadelphia.
Philly.
It's San Francisco. I'll throw Dallas in there. I'll throw Dallas in there. Minnesota, I think they make it, but I don't know about I don't know about the 13 wins. I don't know about that, but I think they're legit. After that, it's wide open.
Well, you got to give the NFC West a spot, so there's that.
Well, the Niners. I said the Niners already.
I hear you say the Niners. So I just want to be clear.
Yeah.
The Niners, the Eagles, the Vikings, and who am I missing?
Dallas. And Dallas.
And let's see, whoever I'm missing in the South.
Okay, yeah, I guess we got to pick somebody there.
So that's
right.
4.
Okay.
Now we're talking about Dallas,
Well, really, that's 5. Really, it's 5. So you're really talking about 2 spots. You're really talking about 2 playoff spots. I get
what Maestro's saying, though, because it is kind of wide open once you get really outside of Philadelphia, to be honest with you. I mean, anybody can land anywhere.
Yeah, do we believe in the Giants? Do we believe in the Giants?
Okay, so I think you stopped me. I think you stopped me before I was ready to be stopped there.
Go ahead.
So again, the Niners, the Eagles, the Vikings, the
Cowboys.
Whoever in the South. No, whoever's in the South.
Oh, you're talking about division winners. Okay,
so there's 3 spots left.
Right.
We know the Cowboys are going to be. The Cowboys are going to be there. We know whoever's going to win the North is going to be. Whoever's going to be second place in the North is going to be in the wild card. So now we got
that could be Chicago. That could be Chicago.
So again,
that could be Chicago.
So you don't believe that the NFC North is between the Vikings and the Lions?
No, yeah, I do. I think one of those 2 teams will win the North. That doesn't mean the team that doesn't win the North out of the 2 ends up in second place.
Huh?
Vince, you get what I'm saying, right? Vince, you get what I'm saying, right? Okay, thank you.
So how's it between the 2 teams if the other one don't get the wild card?
No, I'm not saying. So, for example, if it's the Lions, right, for the North, right? If the Lions win the North, the Vikings can still get a wild card. That doesn't mean that they're going to be the first wild card. It could mean they could be the second wild card. Hell, they could be the they could be the third wild card.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Okay. And it doesn't exclude the Bears
100%
from getting the wild card.
Right.
The NFC North will not have 3 playoff teams.
No, it won't. That's not what I'm saying. That's not even what I'm saying. That's not even what I said.
You just said one. You said the Vikings could win. Then the Lions could win, and then there's another.
No. I said what I went to clarify is the Vikings could end up in third place.
Necessarily be that first wild card.
Right. The Vikings could end up third in the division, is what I'm saying.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the Bears ain't making the playoffs. Let me be clear about that. The Bears are that, and I would love to be wrong. I will humbly say, in December, January. Hey, I was wrong.
And it depends on how you feel about Seattle too. I don't want to forget that.
That's what I was getting to.
Okay.
They're not making the playoffs. The NFC North is going to be the Vikings and the Lions.
So you got Seattle as a lock to make the playoffs.
I do over the Bears, yes.
Okay.
You asked me to pick Seattle or Bears. I got Seattle.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't argue that.
Yeah.
I can't argue that.
And then are the Rams still trash going into the next year? I'm just asking a question.
That's a tough question.
Yeah, that's a tough question.
No Jalen Ramsey. They still got Donald there. You can't count that dude out.
Cooper Kupp is healthy.
Yeah.
Well, that helps.
You would expect to bounce back. You would expect.
I'm just asking. They're not going to be. Cooper Kupp healthy. I got them better than the Bears right now.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I mean, I don't think the Rams are winning 5 games again this season.
Yeah,
I think they'll be better. I don't know that they'll be a playoff team. But
and if you had to place a bet between who's more likely to win 5 or less games, the Bears or the Rams, I think you're taking the Bears right now.
To win 5 games or less?
5 games or less right now. If it's
between those two teams.
Of the two, yes, I agree. Of the two, I agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I mean, with respect to Justin Fields and the Bears, I ain't trying to hear that shit.
Yeah.
I ain't trying to hear that shit.
Yeah, all right. All right. Wait till we. Right. Hey. If
I'm wrong, I will humbly apologize. I just had to apologize to Bud Crawford today. So
I was just about to bring that up. You know how you felt. You know how you felt about picking Errol Spence because
I will humbly apologize
because you was challenged. I'm feeling challenged right now, and when it gets time to make them predictions,
this ain't the bet you won. I'm just gonna let you know right now. This ain't the bet you won.
Hey, test me, bro. I'm getting to that point. I'm getting to that point.
Vince Wright, the Bears will not make the playoffs.
I think the Bears will not make the playoffs this year. I think they'll have a better season. But again, there's all kinds of other variables, wild cards, who's winning what, tiebreakers, this and that, all that stuff, obviously. Mm-hmm. But no, I do look for the Bears to be improved this year. And I think maybe at a certain point of the season, people may be talking about a Bears playoff push. But ultimately, I think maybe they may come up a little bit
fall short. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So that's what I see. And then, obviously, the great unknown up there in Green Bay, Jordan Love finally getting his turn to man the ship up there in Green Bay. So I will say this for the NFC North. It's going to be fun. It's going to be very interesting to kind of see what happens this year. I'm actually very excited for our division and to see how all this plays out because, we got a lot of stuff happening here. We got a lot of great football players. And, let's just kind of see who does it on the field at this point.
And that leads us to this question. This is our favorite part of the show. We ask folks their top 5. And so, Vince, disclaimer here. So, every week we do these top 5 lists. And sometimes I get a phone call or Maestro will get a DM or somebody at work who been watching the show is going to be like, yo, who the hell are you talking about? Like, your top 5 is trash. Like, what you talking about and stuff. So instead of them coming at us, we want them to come at you. So I'm going to ask you this question and then I'm going to ask you where people can find you at on social media. Top 5 players in the NFC North this coming season, and let the folks know where they can find you at on social media.
All right, cool. Jair Alexander, Justin Jefferson, Daniil Hunter, Aaron Jones. Kind of break it up a little bit. Throw some love to the big guys. David Bakhtiari and Aiden Hutchinson.
Okay, I was about to say
that, and that might have been 6.
I think that's 6. Yeah,
I think that was 6.
Okay.
I think that was 6. You got to do an honorable mention in there.
So you got Bakhtiari.
I'll throw Aiden Hutchinson as the honorable mention.
Okay.
All right.
I would have switched it, but I would have made Bakhtiari the honorable mention.
The honorable mention. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. But sure.
Well, I kept him in because the body of work. I mean, Aiden.
True.
Aiden came in last year and did a phenomenal job and all that stuff. But David's been doing it for a very long time, and I just respect that dude. I know he's Packer and all this stuff, but I mean, when the dude has put in work like he's put in, I've just been very, very respectful of his game. So that's why he's on my list.
So plug your social media one time so they know where to find you in case they hate your list.
Exactly. Let's start off on Twitter at the Big Smooth 1, the number 1, as I say after the Big Smooth. So Twitter at the Big Smooth 1. You can also find we got a Facebook group, Sports Done Wright. Just go there and you got to get permission to get in, but we'll get you in there as well. And then I'm on Instagram, Sports Done Wright there as well. And I know I got to do what the kids do and get this TikTok going and all this other stuff.
No, you don't.
Where you can find me.
No, you don't.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Oh man.
So that's where y'all can find me, man. Hit me up anytime, and I'm very interactive with the sports stuff.
Yeah. Shout out to Rod Cali 247 in the YouTube live chat.
What up?
So my response to your list, Vince. So I can understand not putting Justin Fields on that list on that top 5. He's in my top 5 for me, but that's just because of what I think he'll be able to do this coming season versus what he's done so far. But the player that I gotta mention here, no love for C.J. Gardner-Johnson. He went over to the Lions in the offseason, and he had a great year last year.
Gotta do it for the Lions.
That's the thing, man.
Really?
Yeah.
That's the. Oh wow.
For me.
Well, I mean, we can sit here, and that's the thing too, because just like you said, Justin Fields was probably 6 or 7 on my list.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of went with more of the body of work as well, and trying to mix in some of this other stuff. But no, you're absolutely right, man. You guys could come up with a list that is definitely arguably better than the one I came up with. Again, that's why I'm so excited for our division, though. We got some new faces, we got some new players,
Mm-hmm.
And it's really going to be, I think it's going to be more of a cat fight than people are anticipating right now, especially up here in Viking land. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that obviously my team can just walk away with it. But, and especially when it comes to Detroit, the one thing I always say is when the Vikings play Detroit, it is never a given. Yeah. I don't care. Detroit can be 0-16. They can be 10-1. I don't care what the record is. The Detroit Lions always play the Minnesota Vikings tough, year in and year out. So whenever they play that game, it's not just an automatic win for me.
Right.
And, the Lions have definitely broke our hearts a couple of times, the past few years as well. So,
yeah, for sure.
When they were winless. Like, even the years when they were winless, they would, go into Minnesota, or they would play you guys and they get like their first win of the season or something crazy like that. Well, that's the thing,
because when you play a team that's 0 whatever or 1 whatever, you don't want to be that team that loses to them, right? Yeah. So then you start getting nervous, and all of a sudden, hey man, we're down in Detroit by a field goal here late in the fourth quarter, and start playing, jittery football and all this stuff. But on paper, it should be between the Vikings and Detroit. Will that happen? We'll obviously have to wait and see. But I'm very excited to get this season going. And Vikings got a game here in a week or so now. So we're off and running with the NFL, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Rod Cowley 247 in the chat says Dan Campbell tried to get a real lion on the sideline for the mascot. Yo, that'd be so gangster.
Insane.
That would be so gangster.
Insane. No.
It would be gangster.
Right.
That'd be gangster.
Stop it. Someone who has it.
Stop it.
As someone with a day job in insurance, I'm just going to tell you right now that ain't happening. The liability alone is going to be crazy.
Of course it would be.
This ain't LSU where we're keeping, the animals on the sidelines and stuff. But hey, if they can pull it off, hats off to them. But I just think that Detroit will find a way to lose a game or two that will really kind of hurt them at the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Hence, the Minnesota Vikings repeating as the division champs.
All right. I like it. I like it. Hey, man.
Hey, Vince. Always good to see you, man. Always good to see you.
I appreciate it, fellas. I appreciate it. And I got to get you guys on Sports Done Right here and return the favor. We got to talk about them Steelers. My dad being from Western Pennsylvania, I grew up with probably more gold and black than Trey has now. And, we got to get Trey back on here. Trey been up to the cities and stuff, man. We got to get Trey on and talk about these New York Knicks and them Baltimore Ravens.
Yes, sir.
And real quick, Trey, if I can just ask you real quick.
What's up?
What do you think about your quarterback and how he's going to be looking this year?
Well, look, I think he's going to be an MVP candidate this year.
Okay.
And look, I said it once on this show a few weeks ago. I'm going to say it again. I think this team is going to the Super Bowl with the moves we made, this defense.
It's Maestro.
He can laugh all he want because his team, because his teammate, because
No.
Go ahead.
I don't know that, but no, I was trying to let you talk. Finish your point. I just couldn't hold the laugh. My bad.
Hey.
My bad.
Hey.
Because the way you said it on the other show, the way you just said it reminded me of the way you said it on the other show.
Right.
And
that was the intention.
It brought the same laughter. Look, it is not even that it's so far-fetched. Obviously, y'all got a way better chance of going to the Super Bowl this year right now than Pittsburgh does on paper.
Yeah.
Right. But, hey, man, it just don't seem feasible with the Bengals and the Chiefs. Like, I'm sorry. Go ahead, man. It just sounds funny when you say it out loud so confidently. It does.
Look, man, I'm confident, bro.
Hey, man, God bless you. Should be confident.
The moves, man. Look, the defense, man. Defense got better second half of the season, man.
The great Michael Todd says it's crazy until it happens.
So there you go. There you go. Look,
so
man.
you got a right to be crazy. Me laughing at you is confirmation that it is crazy. But if it happens, then hey.
It's confirmation that you think it's crazy, but
crazy is only a matter of opinion. It's only subjective.
Of course it is. I don't think it's crazy at all. I mean, the moves we made, the draft we had, the defense. Right. I mentioned Roquan Smith earlier in the show. We got him from Chicago, and it kind of turned our defense around. And so I'm really excited about what they're going to do this year. I'm excited about the offense, new offensive coordinator, Zay Flowers.
Well, hopefully that your my former Minnesota Gopher, Rashad Bateman, can have an injury-free year.
Yeah,
and really show you what he's all about. Because, when he got out to Baltimore, man, I was like, may have been the steal of the draft. Unfortunately, injuries have kind of caught him here the past couple years. But man, if he can stay healthy, he's going to ball out for you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm looking forward to, seeing what he can do. I mean, he's coming off of a serious injury, so, it's going to be hard to expect him to really, have a quote-unquote breakout, season. But, with Odell Beckham there and now with Zay Flowers there, and Nelson Aguilar's probably going to be the fourth receiver, which I kind of like him for that role. This offense, the sky's the limit. So, September 7th can't get here fast enough, man.
For sure.
It's August 1st. It's August 2nd, man. We got about a month left. I just want the games to start already.
I hear you.
So,
but no, man, thanks for having me on, fellas. I love the show. Love what you guys are doing. Love the guests you have. And, ever since you guys have kind of went over to the video format, man, you've taken it to another level. So,
Salute.
Keep chopping it up. Keep fading up, brother. I'm actually wearing a hat, but I did get faded earlier today. And but nah, man, seriously, I appreciate what you guys do. Love listening to the show, man, and just keep doing what you're doing.
Hey, man, coming from you, man, that means a lot, man. It really does.
Oh, man, hey, ditto, man. And I'm always here. Anytime you want that Minnesota angle, just get at me. And like I said, I'll be in touch soon because, I've had Trey on before, but I got to get both of y'all on my show. So we can definitely get it chopped up there. So
no doubt.
I'll jump off, let y'all get back to the show. But thanks for having me, fellas.
All right, man. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you.
All right, take care.
All the
peace
love
to the chat room out there as well.
No doubt. All the love.
For sure, bro.
Peace.
Peace. That was the homie Vince Wright right there, folks. Check out his podcast, Sports Done Wright. You can check that out on Spreaker.com or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Got some amazing things going on there, and obviously he covered the Super Bowl and all this good stuff. So he's doing, he's stepping his game up too. I've been paying attention, the past few, couple of years, and he's, been getting his platform out there, to the open as well. So, doing some dope stuff right there, man. What you got, bro?
I don't got nothing man. But no, I'm lying. I think you jinxed me because I don't know what the hell going on with but you jinxed me before we got on talking about I might be coming down with something. I just want you to know that. But I want to make this challenge official since you said you don't like to be challenged.
Yep.
I don't see the Bears being the 8th seed in the NFC.
Well, the 8th seed doesn't get to go to the postseason.
I know.
Okay.
I know exactly what I said.
Oh, okay. Oh,
I don't see them being the 8th seed.
You trying to be slick with
NFC.
it? You trying to be slick with it? So
I want it to be a direct challenge.
Oh, okay. Well, look, bro. And you know what? Screw it, yo. Early prediction, hot take right here.
That's a safe bet.
I get it. And I'm gonna probably go open up the FanDuel Sportsbook once we done here and look to see what the odds are for the Bears to make the playoffs. And I'll be honest with you, bro. I may play that number, bro. Matter of fact, I'm going to play that.
All right.
I'm gonna play that.
Post it.
The Chicago Bears are making the playoffs this year in the NFC.
Post it.
Yeah.
Post
I
the
will.
money.
I will. I will.
I bet.
I will. I got no problem with that. You know I post. I've been posting a lot of parlays and all that stuff on Twitter. So ain't no shame in my game when it comes to that. Bet. So yeah. We this is, and people can find it. We on YouTube. We on Twitter and all this stuff. So ain't no hiding from this. So y'all want to holler at me at the end of the season? That's all good too. So.
All right, yes sir. Get us out of here, man.
Yeah, that's what's up. Hey man, appreciate everybody in the chat tonight, man. Chat was pretty popping tonight, and thanks to Vince Wright for coming through. Talking some Minnesota sports and all that good stuff. Top 5 list was dope as well. Folks, continue to follow us on our social media. Hit us up on the Twitter handle at Barbershop SPOR2. We also got the YouTube channel. Make sure you tell a friend to subscribe. Got some good content going right now. Also, we got the Facebook page. Make sure you click the like button. Hit us up on the gram at Barbershop Sports Talk Podcast. Hit us up on email if you got questions or comments about the show. barbershopsportstalk1@gmail.com is the email address. And then make sure you guys follow, make sure you guys write a review on any of those platforms, whether it's Spotify, Apple, Google, iHeartRadio. Let us know what you think about the show with a review. That goes a long way. So that's it for the show, folks. Maestro, another good one, man.
Yes, sir.
Got another one out the way, folks. So peace, love, happiness, folks. Y'all have a great week. And as always, folks, mind your damn business.
Drink some water.
Oh yeah, we got him. Trey, Frazier, and Maestro Styles, you know we got one. Right back like we left something. We don't duck smoke, we want all of it. So line them up, Trey sharp with the blade, you know we sizing it up. I'm quick to catch the fade, Styles making the cut. Cause we coming out clean every time that we showing up.
It's gonna be called The Barbershop.